Here we're going to take a look at the Smart-FRAC step. So Smart-FRAC is the engine behind the whole what makes the FPGA so efficient. So when Pin Extract runs, we've already looked at the Pin Explorer. Let's pop that up really quick again. It pulls out our pins and it kind of it classifies them up front, and it uses some tricks. It knows about the FPGA, so it's going to give us our dedicated I/O banks. It's going to give us our generic I/O banks, which in this case has so many pins because there's 50 I/O banks. And then it splits into the transceiver banks. It knows about the transceiver power, so it automatically kind of segments power into that and just gives us it sorts the pins so that we can easily control them, and then all of the FPGA power pins. So when we run Smart-FRAC is going to split up all these pins into an initial set of symbols for us, and it's going to create this SDL file, SDL from template.sdl. And if I take that out and run it, we'll see. So what's going to happen is when we run it, Smart-FRAC does two levels of sorting. There's an initial pin group to symbol map file that it uses to limit to try and pre-sort the signals, and then into groups, and then it goes into those groups in the second step and places them around symbols. If there is no config pin group, if there is no PGSM file, Smart-FRAC is going to build it for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to run Smart-FRAC. Let's clear the status, and then we'll run Smart-FRAC. And we can see it added 16 lines to the pin group to symbol map file. And then it's going to create the SDL from template. It's asking us, hey, do you want to overwrite it? And we say yes. So now, in that simple step, Smart-FRAC just organized our FPGA into symbols. And as I showed you in a previous video, where we just quickly build it, we can now run, and we can actually build 66 symbols for this part, and it takes 5 minutes. But what if we want to make it, what if we want more control over it? So that's what we're going to look at now. So the first thing we'll look at is the config pin groups. And what we see here is this entry lets us open the Pin Explorer. We can create or fix the pin group to symbol map. So Smart-FRAC created this for us in that step because there wasn't one. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to look at what it created. So again, this is the top level sorting. That's going to happen. Okay. So what this says is Smart-FRAC is going to create, a top level transceiver banks, and all of the pins that fit in the transceiver banks or are assigned to transceiver banks will be assigned in that symbol. Then it's going to create a dedicated I/O banks symbol, and any pin that's marked with this dedicated I/O banks pin group will get that. And then it's going to create the Gen I/O banks. Now you can see these are 3,000 grids, which means Smart-FRAC is going to have to break it up into multiple symbols. Then we're going to place the MGT power. You can see this is pretty small, 18, 19 grids. So this will fit on one symbol. And then it's going to create the FPGA power pins, which again is huge, and it's going to automatically create it. But what this is the top level sort. And I call this the pin group to symbol map file. Okay, and so one thing we can do in here is we can control the order that Smart-FRAC is going to build them. So I like the dedicated I/O banks first, so we can move it up, and then we can move this down. So this is just like the SDL editor that we use, but it's slightly stripped down just to handle the pin group to symbol map file. Then we're going to create the dedicated I/O banks, the transceiver banks, and the generic I/O banks. I kind of like the transceiver banks below the generic I/O banks. It's all your preference. So I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to paste it here. And then let's put let's move this down a bit. The blank spaces don't mean anything. It's just for us to read. This was automatically created by Smart-FRAC, and it saw that there is MGT power. There's And if you look at the Xilinx part again, there's a right upper center, a right lower center, a right south, and a right north. So I like to put these in order. So I'm going to put the right north, then I'll put the right upper center. And it's just, this is giving us a way to organize the pins that are going to appear in the symbol for the transceiver power. And then we can save this. And so when we change it, the next thing we'll do is we can run Smart-FRAC.